A young electrician experiments with conductors. Is it magic? This is Sparky by Maxwell Churchill, being read by Maxwell Churchill. Chapter 1. A Spark of Imagination. Max stood in the cluttered workshop, surrounded by the hum of electricity and the smell of solder. His workspace was a chaotic mix of tools, wires, and half-finished projects. Max, an apprentice electrician, was not just any electrician. He was an eccentric young man with a wild imagination and a penchant for unconventional ideas. Today, Max was on the verge of his most daring experiment yet. His fingers tapped nervously on the workbench as he stared at a silver ring lying amidst the jumble of electrical components. It wasn't just any ring. It was a finely crafted silver band polished to a shine. Max's mind buzzed with possibilities. Inspired by his favorite film series, The Lord of the Rings, earlier that day, during a mundane discussion with his mentor Frank, the topic of conductivity had come up. Frank had mentioned, almost offhandedly, that silver and gold were even more conductive than copper. Max's eyes had lit up with the idea so outrageous that it had immediately consumed his thoughts. What if, Max had thought, I create a real ring of power? Frank chuckled at Max's enthusiasm, interpreting it as another one of his apprentice's fanciful dreams. But Max was serious. He envisioned channeling electricity through a silver ring, turning it into a conduit of immense power, much like the mythical One Ring. He knew it was far-fetched, but the allure of creating something magical was too strong to resist. Now, in the solitude of his workshop, Max was ready to bring his idea to life. He carefully laid out the components: a power strip, electrical tape, wire cutters, and the silver ring. His plan was simple, at least in theory. He would cut the hot wire of the power strip, connect it to opposite ends of the silver ring, and cover the connections with electrical tape. Once he plugged it in, the electricity would flow through the ring, potentially creating the magical effect he imagined. Max took a deep breath and began. He unplugged the power strip and used the wire cutters carefully to sever the hot wire. His hands were steady, guided by the precision he had developed over years of training. He stripped the insulation from the cut ends, exposing the gleaming copper beneath. He then took the silver ring and, with a delicate touch, soldered the wires to opposite ends of the band. The moment of truth was approaching. Max's heart pounded in his chest as he wrapped up the connections with electrical tape, ensuring they were secure and insulated. He double-checked his work, making sure there were no exposed wires or loose connections. Everything had to be perfect. With the modifications complete, Max stepped back and took a moment to admire his creation. The silver ring, now an integral part of the power strip, seemed to shimmer with potential. Max couldn't help but smile at the thought of wielding a ring of power, even if it was just a fanciful notion. Here goes nothing, he muttered to himself, plugging the power strip back into the wall outlet. He felt a surge of anticipation mixed with a tinge of fear. Was this going to work? Would the ring conduct electricity and become something extraordinary, or would it simply result in a blown fuse and a lesson in electrical safety? Max took a deep breath, steadied his nerves, and flipped the switch on the power strip. The familiar click of the switch echoed in the room, followed by a brief, tense silence. Chapter 2. The Ring's Potential. Max's breath caught as the light on the power strip flickered on. The strip was receiving power, and by extension, so was the makeshift ring of power. Excitement coursed through him as he reached for a cord to charge his phone. With a mix of eagerness and trepidation, he plugged the cord into the strip and then into his phone. The screen lit up, indicating that the phone was charging. A triumphant smile spread across Max's face. "It works," he whispered quietly to himself, hardly believing it. He quickly moved on to the next test, plugging in his television. As he pressed the power button, the screen came to life, displaying the familiar home menu. Settling into his worn-out recliner, Max grabbed his phone and opened YouTube. He started with a few educational videos from Crash Course, absorbing information on various subjects. The ring sat on the table next to him, a silent observer to his evening. To Max, the ring was no longer just a piece of jewelry, but a conduit of power and knowledge, imbuing the mundane tasks it facilitated with a sense of wonder. As the night wore on, Max decided to put on a movie to fall asleep. He selected one of his favorites and let the familiar scenes and sounds lull him into a relaxed state. The silver ring gleamed under the soft glow of the television, and in his dreams, Max imagined himself wielding true power, using the ring to light up cities, power vehicles, and connect to the world's knowledge. The next morning, Max woke with the dawn, feeling surprisingly refreshed. He unplugged everything from the power strip, carefully storing the silver ring back in his toolbox for safety. As he locked up his workshop, he couldn't shake the sense of accomplishment and lingering excitement of his experiment. Driving to work, Max's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. He marveled at how the power of his phone had flowed through the ring. Every time he used his phone to play music or look something up, he felt a small thrill, imagining the energy coursing through the ring to his device. The idea that such a simple object could become something extraordinary filled him with a sense of possibility. At work, Max's focus wavered, as his thoughts kept drifting back to the ring. He wondered about its potential, contemplating what other applications it might have. Could he scale up the concept? What if other devices could benefit from his makeshift power source? The possibilities seemed endless. Max's mentor, Frank, noticed his distraction. "You seem a bit preoccupied today, Max. Everything all right?" Max hesitated, then decided to share a bit of his excitement. "Just working on a personal project, Frank. Experimenting with some conductive materials." Frank raised his eyebrow but smiled. "As long as you're being safe, Max. Your curiosity is one of your best traits. Just make sure it doesn't interfere with your work here." Max nodded, appreciating Frank's understanding. The rest of the day passed in a blur of routine tasks and fleeting thoughts about his ring. Every time he glanced at his phone, he felt a connection to the workshop and the small silvery band that had made his dream a reality, if only in a small way. As evening approached, Max couldn't wait to get back to his workshop. His mind buzzed with the new ideas and experiments. He was eager to explore the full potential of his ring of power, pushing the boundaries of his imagination and skills. Little did he know this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything he knew about electricity, magic, and the power of dreams. Chapter 3. A Night of Comedy. Another day filled with thoughts about his experiment. Max couldn't wait to get home. He hurried to his workshop, retrieved the power strip with the silver ring, and took it back into the house. With careful precision, he reconnected the power strip, plugging it into the wall outlet. Once again, the strip's light flickered on, confirming that power was flowing through his creation. Max set about reconnecting his devices. First, he plugged in the phone charger and watched with satisfaction as a screen lit up. Next, he hooked up the television, settling in for an evening of relaxation. Tonight, he decided to watch one of his favorite late-night comedians. The upcoming election was a hot topic, and although Max didn't particularly favor either candidate, he enjoyed the comedian's humorous take on the political landscape. He leaned slightly leftwards in his views, finding some solace in the jokes made at the expense of the more right-leaning candidate. As the comedian launched into his monologue, Max chuckled along, appreciating the clever satire and sharp wit. The silver ring, once again in action, seemed almost to hum with energy, as if it shared in his amusement. Max's setup was nearly complete. He reached for his lamp, the final touch of his evening routine. He plugged it into the power strip, ensuring he would have a nightlight to guide him if he needed to get up in the middle of the night. The warm glow of the lamp added a cozy ambiance to the room, contrasting the flickering images on the television screen. Hours passed, filled with laughter and lighthearted commentary. As the comedian wrapped up his show, Max felt a sense of contentment. The ring, despite being an ordinary piece of jewelry, had brought a touch of magic to his everyday life. It wasn't just about the electricity. It was about the idea that something simple could be transformed into something extraordinary. With the show over, Max decided it was time to call it a night. He turned off the television but left the lamp on, casting a soft glow across the room. The silver ring, still connected to the power strip, shone subtly in the dim light. Max couldn't help but feel a bit like a character in one of his beloved fantasy stories, wielding a ring of power, however modest its abilities. As he drifted off to sleep, his mind wandered to new possibilities and experiments. What else could he achieve with this ring? What other devices could he power? And how might he refine his creation? The future seemed full of potential, much like the nights spent in the glow of his imagination. The next morning, Max awoke to the gentle light of the lamp. He stretched and unplugged his devices, ensuring everything was safely stored away. Once again, he felt a surge of excitement about his experiment. On the drive to work, he couldn't stop thinking about the ring and its potential. Each song that played through his phone felt like a small triumph, a reminder of the energy coursing through the silver band. Max's days were now intertwined with his nightly rituals, each one building on the last. The silver ring had become more than just an experiment. It was a symbol of his creativity and boundless possibilities of his mind. As he navigated his daily tasks, his thoughts often drifted to the ring, fueling his imagination and inspiring new ideas. The journey was just beginning, and Max was eager to see where it would lead. Chapter 4. Binding with Intention. Max's week had been filled with a whirlwind of routine work and nights filled with quiet contemplation and experiments. As the weekend approached, he decided to indulge in a personal ritual to relax and recharge. He made a trip to his local dispensary, selecting a strain of cannabis that promised a calming and creative high. It was part of his routine to unwind and allow his mind to wander, sparking new ideas and perspectives. Returning home, Max reached for his electronic lighter. Realizing it needed charging, he plugged it into the power strip connected to the silver ring. Watching the device draw power from his creation filled him with a sense of satisfaction. It was more than just a means to an end. It was a connection to something greater, a source of inspiration and wonder. As the lighter charged, Max prepared his pipe, filling it with the freshly purchased cannabis. He felt a peculiar sense of ceremony as he held the lighter, knowing it had been charged through the ring. Lighting the pipe, he inhaled deeply, feeling the familiar wave of relaxation wash over him. The act felt symbolic, as though the ring were a conduit not just for electricity, but for energy and intention. Settling into his recliner, Max allowed his mind to drift. He watched the smoke curl and twist in the air, each tendril a manifestation of his thoughts. The realization struck him with a clarity that was almost startling. Anything he did while he were high would be tied to the ring. It was a profound thought, one that made him consider the potential of his actions more carefully. Feeling a surge of motivation, Max decided to reorganize his room. He wanted each object, each piece of furniture to carry the same intentional energy he felt while connected to the ring. Despite his high, he approached the task with precision and care, moving items methodically and thoughtfully. First, he tackled his workbench, arranging his tools and components in a more efficient layout. Every placement was deliberate, as though he were weaving his intentions into the very fabric of the room. Next, he moved his bookshelves, sorting his collection by subject and importance, each book holding a place of significance. The process was almost meditative. As he worked, Max felt as though he were binding each item to the ring's power, creating a space filled with purposeful energy. He arranged his bed to face the window, allowing natural light to flood into the room in the mornings. His lamp was positioned to cast the perfect amount of light for reading, and his television was adjusted to the optimal viewing angle. Hours passed, and Max found himself immersed in the task. Each action flowing seamlessly into the next, he felt a deep connection to his environment, as though the physical space were an extension of his thoughts and intentions. The silver ring, now resting quietly on his nightstand, seemed to glow with a subtle ethereal light, a silent witness to his efforts. As he finished, Max took a step back to admire his work. His room had been transformed, not just physically, but energetically. It felt like a sanctuary, a place where his creativity and intentions could thrive. He settled back into his recliner, feeling a sense of accomplishment and peace. The ring had become more than just a tool. It was a symbol of his ability to shape his reality through intention and action. That night, as he drifted off to sleep, Max's mind buzzed with new ideas and possibilities. The ring had shown him that even the smallest action, when imbued with purpose, could create a meaningful change. His dreams were filled with visions of future projects, each one a testament to the power of imagination and intention. The journey was far from over, and Max was eager to see where it would lead, knowing that with the ring, anything was possible. Chapter 5. The Ring's Embrace. Max's experiment with the silver ring continued to evolve. Each evening after work, he would return home, eagerly connecting more devices to the power strip. One night, he decided to plug in his desktop computer. a machine he often used for online gaming. As he powered it up and logged into his favorite games, he felt a strange sense of connection, as if the ring was binding his interactions with other gamers into its sphere of influence. The gaming sessions took on a new dimension. Max's gameplay seemed sharper, his strategies more intuitive. He engaged in lively banter with fellow players, feeling their energy flow through the ring into his fingertips as he typed and maneuvered his character. The experience was immersive, almost magical, as though the ring was enhancing his skills and connectivity. Every so often, Max would take a break to smoke, using the electronic lighter charged by the ring, had become a ritual. He'd light his pipe or a joint, inhaling deeply and feeling this familiar rush of relaxation and creativity. The high, combined with the ring's perceived power, amplified his experiences, making them richer and more intense. For 2 weeks, this routine became Max's new normal. The ring, still connected to the power strip, was the central node of his evenings. He felt its presence in every action, every decision. It was more than just a conductor of electricity. It was a catalyst for his imagination and a bridge to the digital and physical worlds. Then, one evening, Max decided it was time for a change. He had been contemplating wearing the ring, feeling its power directly on his skin. There was a sense of hesitation. What would happen if he took this step? Would the ring's power change? Would it affect him differently? With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, Max unplugged the power strip and carefully detached the ring. It felt warm in his hand, almost pulsating with energy. He took a deep breath and slipped it onto his finger. The metal was cool against his skin, but he quickly felt a surge of warmth spread throughout his body. To mark the moment, Max reached for his electronic lighter. Igniting a joint, he took a deep drag, savoring the familiar flavor and sensation. The ring on his finger seemed to glow subtly in the dim light of his room. He felt a powerful connection, not just to the device and routines he had bound to the ring, but to the broader world around him. With the joint in hand, Max walked to his front door and opened it. The cool evening air rushed in, mixing with the warm smoke from his joint. He stepped outside, feeling a sense of liberation. The world looked different, sharper, more vibrant. He felt the ring's power coursing through him, enhancing his perception and heightening his senses. Standing on his porch, Max gazed up at the night sky. The stars twinkled like tiny beacons of possibility, each one a reminder of the vast potential that lay ahead. He felt a profound sense of connection to the universe, as though the ring had become a conduit not just for electricity, but for the very essence of life itself. Max took another drag from his joint, exhaling slowly. He felt ready for whatever came next. Confident that the ring's power would guide him, the journey was just beginning. And with the ring on his finger, Max felt capable of anything. The possibilities were endless, and he was eager to explore them all. Chapter 6. A Night in the Snow. It was a cool December night, the kind that made Max feel alive with the crisp air filling his lungs. Feeling a surge of energy and inspiration from the ring now snug on his finger, he decided to go for a walk through the neighborhood to the nearby park. He grabbed a pair of corded headphones from his pocket and plugged them into his fully charged phone, selecting a playlist of his favorite tunes. As Max stepped outside, the world seemed to hum with potential. He started his walk, the music in his ears creating a personal soundtrack to his journey. The beats and melodies flowed through him, and he felt like a conductor, subtly moving his fingers in time with the rhythm. Before long, his entire body became engaged, each step and sway harmonizing with the music. The streets were quiet, most residents tucked away inside their homes, escaping the chill of the evening. Max relished the solitude, feeling like he was the only person awake in the world, draped in a hushed, expectant silence. The ring on his finger seemed to pulse with the beat of the music, amplifying his sensations and heightening his awareness. When Max reached the park, he noticed a gentle snowfall beginning, delicate flakes drifting down from the sky. He hadn't checked the weather forecast, and his coworker usually warned him if a storm was coming, but tonight he welcomed the surprise. Feeling the magic of the moment intensifying with each falling snowflake, the park was transformed into a winter wonderland, the snow coating the trees and the grass in a pristine white blanket. Max walked along the paths, the snow crunching softly under his boots, the music in his ears blending with a sense of serene beauty of the scene around him. He felt an almost mystical connection to his surroundings, as if the ring was tuning him into the very essence of the night. Max found a bench near a cluster of evergreen trees and sat down, watching the snowflakes dance in the glow of a nearby street lamp. The music played on, perfect accompaniment to the tranquil snowfall. He took a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the cold air invigorate him. The ring, a constant presence on his finger, seemed to hum with a gentle warmth, a comforting contrast to the winter chill. As he sat there, Max's mind wandered. He thought about his journey he had been on with the ring, from the initial spark of an idea to the countless experiments and routines that had become part of his life. The ring had become more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of his creativity, his curiosity, and his desire to push the boundaries of what was possible. The snowfall grew heavier, but Max remained on the bench, lost in thought. The music shifted to a slower, more contemplative tune, matching his mood. He felt a deep sense of peace and contentment, knowing that he was exactly where he was meant to be. The ring, the snow, the music, all of it came together in a perfect, harmonious moment. Eventually, Max knew it was time to head back home. He stood up, brushing the snow from his coat, and began to walk through the park. The snowfall continued, but he felt warm and protected, the ring's energy flowing through him, guiding his steps. He moved with a sense of purpose and confidence, ready for whatever the night and the future might bring. As he neared his house, the familiar sights of the neighborhood welcomed him back. Max paused for a moment before going inside. Looking up the snow-filled sky, he felt a renewed sense of wonder and possibility. Knowing that the ring on his finger, he was capable of achieving extraordinary things. Stepping inside, Max shook the snow from his boots and coats, feeling the warmth of his home envelop him. He removed his headphones, the music still echoing in his mind, and settled in for the night. The ring glinted softly in the light, a reminder of the night's magic and the endless potential that lay ahead. Chapter 7, A New Perspective. The following Monday, Max returned to work with a renewed sense of purpose. The silver ring on his finger had become a symbol for intentional living, and its influence seemed to permeate every aspect of his life. As he walked into the workshop, he felt a surge of energy, reminiscent of the first time he smoked with the lighter charged by the ring. Max began his day with routine tasks, but everything felt different. Every screw he turned, every wire he pulled, every connection he made seemed to hold greater significance. It was as if he was contributing to a larger plan, a grand design aimed at building a better world. When he installed a light, he could almost see the future moments it would illuminate. A child's laughter, a family dinner, a late-night study session. The light he wired mattered, and its purpose was beyond its immediate function. During his breaks, Max had found himself reflecting on the interconnectedness of everything around him. He would buy a snack or drink from the gas station and pondered its journey, where it was manufactured, the people involved in its production, the design of the packaging. Every detail, from the brand name to the colors used, seemed to weave into the fabric of his experiences. The ring had heightened his awareness, making him more mindful of the world and his place within it. One afternoon, as he sipped on a coffee during his break, Max's thoughts drifted to the ring's power. He imagined the electrons flowing through its silver band, connecting him to the countless objects and people around him. It was humbling and exhilarating realization, making him feel both small and infinitely significant at the same time. As the weeks went on, this sense of intentionality only grew stronger. Max's interactions with coworkers became more meaningful. He listened more attentively, offered help more readily, and found joy in the smallest of tasks. His work was no longer just a means to an end. It was a contribution to a collective effort to create a world filled with light, warmth, and connection. One day, while working on a particularly challenging wiring job, Max felt a profound sense of clarity. He understood that every action, no matter how small, was part of a larger narrative. The wires he pulled and the circuits he completed were metaphors for the connections he was making in his own life. Each one essential, each one powerful. His coworkers began to notice the change in him. Frank, his mentor, commented on his newfound focus and dedication. "You've really stepped up your game, Max. What's your secret?" Max smiled, feeling the weight of the ring on his finger. "Just trying to be more intentional with my work, Frank. Every job matters, and I'm just trying to do my part." Frank nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. That's a good mindset to have. Keep it up. Outside of work, Max's heightened awareness extended to his personal life. He found himself paying closer attention to the details of his surroundings, appreciating the artistry in everyday objects. When he bought groceries, he considered the origins of the food, the hands that had harvested it, and the journey it took to reach him. Each purchase was a small act of mindfulness, a way to honor the interconnectedness of all things. Max also noticed how his interactions influenced others. His friends and family began to adopt more of his practices, inspired by his example. They too started to see the world through a lens of intentionality, finding deeper meaning in their daily routines. As December grew to a close, Max reflected on the transformation he had undergone. The ring, once merely a conductor of electricity, had become a powerful symbol of intentional living. It had taught him to see the beauty and significance in the mundane, and to appreciate the intricate web of connections that made up his world. Max knew that his journey was far from over. There were still countless wires to pull, lights to install, and connections to make. But with the ring on his finger and the heart full of purpose, he felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Each day was an opportunity to build a brighter, more connected world, one small action at a time. Chapter 8. A Turning Point. Life continued at a steady pace for Max until an unexpected event turned the world upside down. News of a rapidly spreading virus filled the headlines, and within weeks the situation escalated into a full-blown pandemic. As public health measures were implemented to slow the spread, many businesses, including Max's electrical contracting company, were forced to shut down temporarily. The abrupt change left Max without work for several months. The routine and purpose that had defined his days was suddenly gone, replaced by uncertainty and anxiety. Max spent his days in isolation, reflecting on the events that had brought him to this point. The ring, which had once symbolized his connection to the world and his intentions, now seemed like a relic of a bygone era. As the weeks turned into months, Max found solace in nature. The state park near his home became a sanctuary, a place where he could escape the confines of his house and find peace among the trees and trails. One day, feeling the weight of the ring's significance and the changes it had brought to his life, Max decided it was time to let go. With the ring in his pocket, Max made his way to a secluded part of the park. The air was crisp, and the forest was alive with the sounds of birds and rustling leaves. He walked until he found a young tree, its slender trunk reaching towards the sky, branches spreading out like welcoming arms. Max stood before the tree, the ring in his hand, and took a deep breath. He thought about everything the ring had meant to him, the power, the intention, the connection. But now, in the midst of a global upheaval, he realized that the true power came from within, not from an external object. With a sense of resolve, Max slid the ring over the top of the young tree, carefully maneuvering it past a few branches. The metal glinted in the sunlight, a stark contrast to the natural beauty of the tree. He knew that as the tree grew, the ring would become inseparable from it, impossible to remove without causing harm. In that moment, Max renounced the ring. He let go of the symbol and the idea that had driven him for so long. The ring was no longer his to wield. It was a part of the tree's future now, a silent witness to the passage of time and growth. As he walked away, Max felt a mixture of sadness and relief. The ring had been a powerful tool, but it was also a burden. By leaving it behind, he was freeing himself to move forward, unencumbered by the past. The pandemic continued to challenge the world, but Max found new ways to cope and adapt. He focused on maintaining connections with loved ones through virtual means, finding joy in simple pleasures, and rediscovering his passions for his work when it eventually resumed. The tree, with the ring nestled in its branches, stood as a testament to Max's journey. It grew taller and stronger with each passing season, a living symbol of resilience and renewal. Max would visit the park from time to time, glancing at the tree and the ring with a sense of peace, knowing that he had made the right choice. Max realized that the true intention and purpose came from within, and that the power to shape his world was always in his hands, not in a ring. He embraced the lessons he had learned and continued to build a brighter future, one small action at a time. Chapter 9. New Beginnings. The pandemic eventually came to an end, and with it, the world began to heal. Public health measures proved effective, vaccines were distributed, and life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. During this time, the political landscape shifted as well. The far-right candidate lost the election, and the nation began to move forward with renewed hope and unity. Max's life, too, began to regain its rhythm. As businesses reopened, he returned to work, diving back into his role as an electrician with a fresh perspective. The months of reflection and the symbolic renunciation of the ring had left him with a deeper appreciation for his craft. Each new building he wired and every remodel he completed felt like a step towards rebuilding the world, one light at a time. In the midst of this renewed purpose, Max's personal life flourished. At a coffee shop one afternoon, he met a woman named Emma. She was a teacher with a warm smile and sharp wit, and their connection was immediate. They bonded over shared interests, including a love of nature and a passion for learning. Max found himself enchanted by her kindness and intelligence, and the relationship blossomed. Over the course of 4 years, Max and Emma's bond grew stronger. They shared countless adventures, from hiking trips in the state park where Max had left the ring, to quiet evenings spent discussing their dreams and aspirations. Emma brought a sense of balance to Max's life, grounding him while also inspiring him to reach for new heights. Their relationship was not without its challenges, but together they navigated the ups and downs with resilience and love. Max continued to pour his heart into his work, finding joy in creating spaces that would one day be filled with life and laughter. Emma supported him in every step of the way. Her unwavering belief in him provided a source of strength. One evening, under a sky filled with stars, Max decided it was time to take the next step. He planned a quiet picnic in the state park, choosing a night and a spot near the tree where he had left the ring years before. As they sat together, the gentle rustle of leaves providing a soothing backdrop, Max took Emma's hand and looked into her eyes. "Emma," he began, a voice filled with emotion, "these past 4 years with you have been the most incredible of my life. You've shown me what it means to love and to be loved. I can't imagine my future without you in it." Emma's eyes glistened with tears as Max reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a beautiful engagement ring, its simple elegance reflecting their journey together. "Will you marry me?" Max asked, his heart pounding with anticipation. Emma's face lit up with a radiant smile, and she nodded, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. "Yes, Max. Yes, I will." The park echoed with their laughter and the rustle of leaves, the tree with the ring standing as a silent witness to this new chapter of Max's life. As they embraced, Max felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The journey had been long and sometimes challenging, but it had led him to this moment of pure happiness. With Emma by his side, Max looked forward to building a future filled with love, purpose, and endless possibilities. The ring and the tree remained a part of his past, a reminder of the lessons he had learned and the growth he had experienced. But now it was time to move forward, to create a life together that was as bright and beautiful as the light he wired into the world. Chapter 10. The Weight of Choices. As the next election approached, Max found himself deeply troubled. The political landscape was more turbulent than ever, and the incumbent, whom Max had supported lightly in the previous election, was visibly struggling with age-related decline. This was concerning enough, but what truly disturbed Max were some of the actions taken during the incumbent's term, particularly the decision to allow aid to a government engaged in genocide. The alternative candidate seemed even worse to Max, someone he viewed as both malevolent and lacking in intelligence. These thoughts weighed heavily on Max's mind as he went about his daily routine. The world seemed to be spiraling into chaos, and Max couldn't shake the feeling that something needed to change. He found himself thinking more about the ring, more and more wondering if its presence in the woods had somehow influenced the state of the world. One crisp autumn afternoon, Max decided to visit the state park where he had left the ring. The air was filled with the earthly scent of fallen leaves, and a gentle breeze rustled through the trees. As he walked the familiar path to the tree, he felt a sense of anticipation mixed with trepidation. The ring had been a powerful symbol in his life, and he needed to confront its presence once more. When Max reached the tree, he stood for a moment, gazing at the ring nestled among the branches. It had become a part of the tree's growth, a silent guardian over the past 4 years. He touched the cool metal, feeling a surge of memories and emotions. The ring had made an impact, of that he was sure, but had it been enough? Max contemplated the idea of taking the ring back. He imagined snapping the tree's branches and reclaiming it, using its power to try and fix the madness he saw around him. The temptation was strong. He felt the world was crazier than ever, and perhaps the ring could provide the clarity and direction needed to set things right. Yet, as he stood there, another thought struck him. The ring had been quietly influencing the world from its place in the woods, a subtle force for change. Its impact might not have been direct, as when he had worn it, but it had still been there, growing and spreading its energy in ways he couldn't fully understand. Max's mind raced with possibilities. What if the world needed another ring, a counterpart to balance the one he had left behind? Maybe the solution wasn't to reclaim the old power, but to create a new one, something that could counteract the growing darkness and chaos. He pondered this idea deeply. The thought of forging a new ring was daunting, but it also felt right. It was a way to take control of his destiny without relying solely on the past. Max realized that he had grown over the years, and his understanding of power and responsibility had evolved. The world might be crazier, but he was stronger and wiser. With a sense of resolve, Max made his decision. He would not take back the ring. Instead, he would create a new one, a symbol of hope and balance for a world in turmoil. The process would require time, effort, and a deep commitment to the values he held dear. But Max was ready for the challenge. He left the tree with a renewed sense of purpose. The ring in the woods would remain, a testament to the past and a source of quiet influence. Meanwhile, Max would embark on a new journey to forge a ring that could help guide the world towards a brighter future. It wouldn't be easy, but he believed that with the intention, creativity, and determination, anything was possible. As he walked back through the park, Max felt the weight of his decision lift. The path ahead was uncertain, but it was also filled with potential. He would face the challenges of the election and the world's chaos with a clear mind and a focused heart. The journey was just beginning, and Max was ready to shape it with his own hands, one step at a time. Chapter 11. The New Ring. Max knew that creating a new ring of power wouldn't be a solitary endeavor. He needed the perspectives and influences of others to truly balance the energy he had hoped to channel. He reached out to his friend Aaron, a thoughtful and compassionate person who Max trusted implicitly. Aaron was intrigued by the idea and agreed to join Max on his new journey. Their first task was to find a suitable ring. They decided to visit a used jewelry shop known for its eclectic collection of items. The shop, nestled in a quiet corner of town, had a warm, inviting atmosphere. With rows of display cases filled with treasures from different eras, the bell above the door tinkled softly as they entered. And the shop owner, an elderly man with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor, greeted them. "Good afternoon, gentlemen. How can I help you today?" the owner asked, his voice a blend of curiosity and hospitality. Max stepped forward, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. "We're looking for a sterling silver ring, something with character, perhaps a lot of history." The owner's eyes sparkled with interest. "Ah, I see. Any particular reason for this search, or is it just the love of fine jewelry?" Max exchanged a glance with Aaron, both deciding to keep the details of their project mysterious. "It's just for a special project, something meaningful," Aaron replied with a smile. The owner nodded, seeming to understand their need for discretion. "Well, you've come to the right place. Let me show you what we have." He led them to a section of the shop dedicated to silver rings. Max and Aaron began to sift through the collection, inspecting each piece carefully. They found rings with intricate designs, some with gemstones, others plain but elegant. However, none seemed quite right for their purpose. Just as they were about to move on to another section, Aaron's eyes caught sight of a simple yet striking silver band. He picked it up and showed Max. Engraved on the inside of the ring was a single word: peace. "This is it," Aaron said, his voice filled with certainty. "This is the one." Max took the ring from Aaron and examined it closely. It was a plain, sterling silver band, but the word peace gave it a profound significance. It felt right, as if the ring itself had been waiting for them. "We'll take this one," Max said to the owner, feeling a sense of completion. The owner smiled, a knowing look in his eyes. "A fine choice. This ring has quite a strength to it. May it serve you well in your endeavors. Max and Aaron paid for the ring and left the shop, both feeling a sense of excitement and purpose. They had found the perfect ring, and now the real work could begin. Back in the workshop, they carefully placed the ring in a small wooden box. It was time to imbue it with their intentions and hopes for the future. Max and Aaron sat down, taking a moment to reflect on what they wanted this ring to represent. We need to think about the values we want to infuse into the ring, Max said. It should stand for more than just peace. It should be a symbol of unity, compassion, and strength. Aaron nodded in agreement, and it should remind us that we are all connected, that our actions, no matter how small, can have a profound impact on the world around us. They spent the next few hours discussing their vision, each contributing ideas and thoughts. Max felt a deep sense of gratitude for Aaron's involvement. Together they were creating something truly meaningful. When they finished, Max took the ring and held it in his hand. He felt a sense of reverence for the task ahead. This ring will be a beacon of hope, he said, softly, a reminder that even in the darkest times there is light and potential for change. Aaron placed his hand on Max's shoulders, sharing the moment of solemnity. Let's make sure it lives up to that promise. With their intentions set and the ring chosen, Max and Aaron began the next phase of their journey. They would continue to imbue the ring with their actions and decisions, each step a testament to their commitment to building a better world. Chapter 12, Power and Purpose. To make the new ring a true ring of power, Max and Aaron knew it needed an actual source of power. Drawing inspiration from Max's original experiment, they decided to integrate the ring into a power strip. This would allow them to use the power in different devices, nurturing it like Max had done with the first ring. They gathered supplies and spent several evenings in Max's workshop, carefully modifying the new power strip. They made sure to integrate the ring seamlessly, ensuring it would safely conduct electricity. It was a meticulous process, but they worked with a sense of purpose, knowing that each step brought them closer to their goal. Finally, the project was complete. The power strip, with the new ring embedded within it, was ready. They agreed that Aaron would be responsible for managing its use and observing its effects. With everything set, they headed to Aaron's house to test it. At Aaron's home, they set up the power strip and plugged it into a wall outlet. Aaron then plugged in a fan to see if the power would flow through the ring as intended. As soon as the connection was made, the fan whirred to life, sending a cool breeze through the room. Max and Aaron exchanged triumphant smiles. Their creation worked perfectly. They settled into Aaron's living room, enjoying the cool air from the fan. On the TV, a late-night comedian was cracking jokes about the upcoming election. The humor provided a much-needed respite from the seriousness of their project and the turbulent political climate. The comedian started with a joke about the incumbent's age. You know, our current leader is getting up there in years. I already so old his birth certificate is in hieroglyphics. The audience roared with laughter. Max and Aaron chuckled, though the joke carried an edge of truth that was hard to ignore. Switching gears, the comedian targeted the opposition. And the other guy, what a character. He's like a human embodiment of a 404 error. Always lost and never quite sure what's going on. Again, laughter filled the room, but Max and Aaron exchanged a knowing look. The stakes of the election were high, and the comedic relief was a way to cope with the anxiety it brought. The jokes continued, each one poking fun at the absurdities of the political landscape. It's like choosing between a rock and a hard place, except the rock has dementia and the hard place thinks the moon is made of cheese. The punchlines were sharp and insightful, making a reality of the election both more bearable and poignant. As they watched, Max felt a mix of emotions. The ring was now active, a conduit of power in their lives. He hoped that it would help them navigate the complexities of the world and the challenges ahead. They had taken the first step towards creating something meaningful, and now it was up to them to ensure it lived up to its potential. The evening wound down, and Max decided it was time to head home. Aaron, take good care of the ring. We've started something important here. Let's make sure it counts. Aaron nodded, his expression serious. I will, Max. We'll use this ring to bring positive change. It's just the beginning. As Max walked home, he felt a sense of hope and determination. The new ring was a symbol of their commitment to making a difference, and he believed that with Aaron's help, they could achieve great things. The world was still chaotic, but they had a tool that could help them find balance and purpose. The journey continued, and Max was ready to face whatever came next with renewed strength and conviction. Chapter 13. A Heart in Turmoil. When Max arrived home that night, he was filled with a sense of hope and purpose from his time with Aaron. However, as he stepped into the quiet darkness of his bedroom, he found Emma laying silently in bed. He slipped in beside her, ready to share the excitement of the evening, but instead she turned to him with an unexpected question. "Max, do you really want to get married?" she asked. Her voice soft, but filled with a weight that made Max's heart skip a beat. He was taken aback. "Of course I do, Emma. Why would you ask that?" Emma took a deep breath, her eyes searching his. "When you proposed, it felt selfish, like you didn't consider if I was truly ready. Your eccentricities, Max, sometimes they embarrass me. There are moments I wish I said no." Max felt a surge of shock and hurt. He had never doubted his love for Emma or their future together. "Emma, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I thought we were on the same page." Tears welled in Emma's eyes as she continued. "I don't know if we are. I love you, but there are parts of your life I can't understand or connect with. It scares me." Max's mind raced, and he always embraced his unique perspective on life, but now it seemed like a chasm between them. "I think I need to go process this," he said quietly. "I'm going to stay with my mom for a few days." Emma nodded, her expression a mixture of sorrow and confusion. "Okay, Max, take the time you need." 2 days later, after a lot of soul-searching, Max knew what he had to do. He called Emma and asked to meet at a local park where they had shared many happy memories. As they sat on a bench, Max spoke with a heavy heart. "Emma, I think we need to end this," he said gently but firmly. "I love you, but it's clear we're on different paths." Emma looked devastated. "Max, I don't want this. I don't know what I want, but I don't want to lose you." Max reached out and took her hand. "I know this is hard, but we can't keep going like this. Unsure if we're happy or unhappy. We need to find what truly makes us both happy, even if it means going our separate ways." Emma nodded reluctantly, tears streaming down her face. "I'll always care about you, Max." "And I about you," he replied, feeling a profound sense of loss and a glimmer of relief. They hugged tightly, knowing this was the end of a chapter they had once thought would last forever. That night, back at his mom's house, Max lay in bed, feeling the weight of his decision, the ring, political turmoil, and now the end of his engagement. It all felt overwhelming. But he also felt a sense of clarity. Something moving forward meant making hard choices. Max knew he had to rebuild, not just his life, but a sense of self. He would focus on the new ring, with Aaron, his work, and finding new balance. The road ahead was uncertain, but Max felt ready to face it, one step at a time. Chapter 14. The Storm's Aftermath. Max was quietly devastated after ending things with Emma. Deep down, he felt like he had made a huge mistake, but he couldn't take it back now. He spent the next couple of days in seclusion at his mom's house, grappling with his emotions. He barely slept, and when he did, his dreams were filled with memories of Emma and a sense of loss for what seemed too heavy to bear. One morning, Max woke up to an eerily quiet house. The unusual hum of appliances was gone. He checked the light switch, no power. As he ventured outside, he quickly realized the extent of the devastation. The storm of the century had hit overnight, bringing straight-line winds that swept across the Great Lake to the west, knocking over trees and power lines. The entire country was affected, and the power companies estimated it could be several days before everyone's power and electricity was restored. Max tried to go for a drive to assess the situation, but he found that trees blocked all major roads and almost every side road. It was like the world had come to a standstill, trapped under the weight of nature's fury. As Max was contemplating his next move, his phone rang. It was Aaron, and he sounded panicked. "Max, you have to come over," Aaron said, his voice trembling. "I think the ring caused the storm. We used it for the fan, and now look at what happened. I don't want anything to do with it anymore." Max's heart sank. He had considered the possibility that the ring could have unintended consequences, but this was beyond anything he imagined. In the back of his mind, he also couldn't shake the feeling that the ring might have played a part in his breakup with Emma. Tolkien's words echoed in his mind. Faithless is he who says farewell when the road darkens. Max felt a resolve building within him. He couldn't abandon the ring over the responsibility that came with it, no matter how difficult things had become. He made his way to Aaron's house, navigating through the debris and fallen trees. When he arrived, Aaron was waiting outside, looking frazzled and worried. "I can't do this, Max," Aaron said, handing over the power strip and the ring. "I don't know if it really caused the storm, but I can't take that chance. It's too much." Max took the power strip and the ring, feeling their weight in his hands. "I understand, Aaron. This is bigger than both of us, but I just can't walk away. I'll take care of it." Aaron nodded, visibly relieved to be free of the burden. "Be careful, Max, please." As Max walked back to his car, he felt a mixture of fear and determination. The storm, the breakup, the power of the ring, everything was connected, and he needed to find a way to understand and control it. The path ahead was uncertain and filled with challenges, but he couldn't turn back now. Returning to his mom's house, his stepdad had a generator running by this point. Max had set up the power strip and plugged in a small lamp. The light flickered on, casting a soft glow in the darkened room. He sat down, the ring resting on the table in front of him, and he took a deep breath. This was a new beginning, a chance for him to reclaim purpose and find a way to harness the ring's power for good. Max resolved to study the ring more closely, to understand its true potential and limitations. He would seek out knowledge, perhaps even reach out to experts who could help him navigate this complex journey. The world had grown darker, but Max refused to say farewell. He would move forward, one step at a time, guided by the light of the ring and the strength of his own determination. Chapter 15. Rebuilding and Reconnecting. Max received a message from Emma asking him to come over and collect the rest of his belongings from what was now her place. It was a difficult task, but he knew it had to be done. He gathered his things, loaded them into his car, and drove back to his mom's house. Once there, he began the process of making a new home for himself in the familiar yet different surroundings. Fortunately, the power had been restored. They were no longer reliant on the generator. This allowed Max to fully utilize the power strip with the new ring. He found solace in the routine of everyday tasks, which helped distract him from the pain of his recent breakup. Max made a point of using the power strip and the ring for as many tasks as possible. He brewed his hot coffee in the morning, enjoying the ritual of grinding beans and watching the coffee maker come to life. He would later pour the leftover coffee into a container and place it in the fridge, which was also powered by the ring, to make iced coffee for the afternoon. The simple act of making coffee brought a sense of normalcy and comfort to his disrupted life. He also used the ring to power his laptop. With a burst of inspiration, he decided to document his journey with the ring. He opened his laptop and began writing. But soon he realized that his thoughts were too scattered and emotional to make coherent sense. Instead, he turned to artificial intelligence, using it to help organize and articulate his experiences into a book. It became a cathartic process, allowing him to reflect on the impact of the ring, the ups and downs of the past few years, and the lessons he had learned. Throughout these days, Max made a conscious decision to avoid getting high. He believed that his previous indulgences may have contributed to the chaos surrounding the first ring, including the pandemic. He wanted to keep a clear mind to ensure his intentions remained pure and focused. Max spent hours on his laptop pouring his heart into the book, which he titled The Ring of Intentions. He detailed how the ring had shaped his life, from the initial experiments to the personal and global turmoil it seemed to influence. He wrote about the power it held and the responsibilities it conferred upon him and Aaron. As the days passed, Max found that using the ring in everyday tasks had a grounding effect on him. He felt more connected to his actions and more in control of his life. The act of writing his book also helped him process the feelings about Emma and their relationship. He began to see the breakup not as a failure, but as a necessary step in their journey towards self-discovery and growth. One evening, after finishing a chapter in his book, Max sat back and stared at the ring. He knew that time was approaching for him to take the next step. He had used the ring to power his devices and simplify his life, but he had felt that its true potential was still untapped. The memory of Tolkien's words echoed in his mind, reminding him of the importance of faith and perseverance. Max took a deep breath and made a decision. It was time to unplug the ring from the power strip and wear the ring of power once more. He hoped that by doing so he could harness its power in a more profound and meaningful way. He believed he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, guided by the strength of his intentions and the lessons he had learned. With a sense of resolve, Max unplugged the power strip and carefully removed the ring. He slipped it onto his finger, feeling that familiar, cool metal against his skin. This time he was determined to use the ring wisely and responsibly to make a positive impact on the world and on his own life. The journey was far from over, but Max felt a renewed sense of purpose and direction. He was ready to embrace the power of the ring and the path that lay before him, one step at a time. Chapter 16, Embracing the Ring. Max decided to take a break from the intensity of his recent experiences and go on a hike with his friends, including Aaron. He knew he needed to reconnect with nature and his close-knit circle, and he hoped it would provide a sense of some clarity about his next steps with the ring. He slipped the ring onto his finger, feeling its weight and significance. When Max met up with his friends, no one questioned the ring. To them, it was just another piece of jewelry. Aaron, however, gave Max a knowing look, understanding the deeper significance of what Max was doing. They set off on their hike, enjoying the fresh air and camaraderie that came with being together in nature. The trail led them through dense woods and up gentle slopes until they arrived at the shore of a serene lake. The water was clear and inviting, reflecting the sky and the surrounding trees. Max felt a sense of peace as he gazed at the lake. Without thinking, he dipped his hand, adorned with the ring, into the cool water and ran his fingers through his hair. The sensation was invigorating, as if the ring were drawing energy from the natural world around him. After their hike, the group decided to visit the local farmer's market. Max was drawn to a stall selling artisan soaps, each bar crafted with care and infused with natural ingredients, some of them from the seller's garden. One soap in particular caught his eye. It was made with real rose petals, giving it a delicate fragrance and luxurious feel. Max bought the soap, feeling it was a conscious decision influenced by the ring. It wasn't just a purchase, it was a way to bring a touch of beauty and nature into his daily life. Throughout the day, Max noticed that many of his decisions seemed to revolve around the fact that he was wearing the ring. It was as if the ring was guiding him, subtly influencing his choices and actions. He felt a renewed sense of power and purpose, similar to what he had experienced with the first ring. This time, however, he was more aware of the ring's influence and mindful of how he harnessed its power. As the day turned into evening, Max reflected on his experiences, the hike, the lake, the farmer's market. All of these moments had been infused with a sense of intentionality and connection. The ring had become a focal point, reminding him of the importance of living with purpose and awareness. Aaron approached Max as they were packing it in to leave the market. "You seem different," Aaron said. "More at peace. Is it the ring?" Max nodded. "I think so. It's like the ring is helping me make decisions that align with who I want to be. It's a powerful reminder to stay true to my intentions." Aaron smiled, reassured. "Well, that's good to hear. Remember to keep that balance. The ring is a tool, but you're the one who controls it." Max appreciated Aaron's words. He knew that the ring was a symbol of power, but it was his responsibility to use that power wisely. As they parted ways and Max headed home, he felt a deep sense of gratitude for the support of his friends and the journey he was on. That night, Max placed the artisan soap in his bathroom, its rose petal scent filling the room. He felt a sense of contentment, knowing that every choice he made, no matter how small, was part of a larger tapestry woven by his intentions and the influence of the ring. The path ahead was still uncertain, but Max felt ready to face whatever came his way. The ring as his guide and his own inner strength, he believed he could navigate any challenges and continue to build a life filled with purpose, beauty, and connection. Chapter 17. The Debate. The night of the final debate arrived, and Max sat with his mom and stepdad in their cozy living room, ready to watch the two candidates face off. The atmosphere was tense, filled with the gravity of the upcoming election. Max had seen the political landscape become more polarized, and tonight's debate felt like a pivotal moment. As the debate unfolded, it became painfully clear that the incumbent, despite being the more palatable choice last time around, was no longer fit to lead. His age had caught up with him, and his performance was fraught with lapses in coherence and clarity. His inability to articulate his points resonated strongly with the audience, including Max and his family. On the other side, the opposing candidate demonstrated not only a lack of intelligence, but also malevolent intent. His responses were filled with lies and manipulative rhetoric, painting a bleak picture of the potential future under his leadership. Max watched intently, spinning the ring around his finger. He couldn't help but wonder if his intentions channeled through the ring had somehow influenced the clarity of this moment. The debate laid bare the unfitness of the incumbent, a realization that had been growing in the public consciousness but was now undeniable. After the debate, the media and public discourse exploded with questions about the incumbent's ability to continue his campaign. There were calls for him to step down and allow someone more capable to take his place. The sentiment was widespread, and for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope that a viable alternative might emerge. Max turned to his mom and stepdad. "Did you see that? People are finally seeing what we've been seeing all along." His stepdad nodded. "It's about time. He can't lead like this. We need someone who can actually do the job." Max's mom sighed. "I just hope he realizes that and steps down. Otherwise, we're in trouble." Max sat back, deep in thought, still turning the ring around his finger. He felt a strange mix of hope and uncertainty. The incumbent had committed to staying in the race, but the debate had cast significant doubt on his ability to win. If he didn't step down, the chances of the opposition candidate winning increased dramatically, which was a terrifying prospect. But there was hope. The debate had sparked a potential shift. If the incumbent recognized the reality of his situation and stepped aside, there was a chance for a candidate Max actually believed in to take the stage. This was the outcome he had been hoping for, the one that had perhaps subtly influenced with his intentions. "We'll see what the future holds," Max said softly to himself, feeling the weight of the ring on his finger. It was a reminder of the power he held, not just in the physical sense, but in the strength of his will and his actions. As the days passed, Max watched the political developments closely, hoping for the change he believed was necessary. The ring had given him a sense of urgency, a belief that he could make a difference, even in small, unseen ways. Whatever happened next, Max was ready to face it, guided by the strength of his convictions and the power of the ring. Chapter 18, A Sunset Farewell. Max's father and stepmother had planned a special sunset cruise on the big lake months earlier. It was meant to be a joyful family outing, a ferry ride to watch the sunset over the water. Initially, Max had been excited about the trip because he was supposed to go with Emma, but now their relationship was over. He felt hesitant and unsure if he wanted to go. Despite his reservations, Max decided to join the cruise. His sister, her girlfriend, were also coming, and he didn't want to miss out on spending time with them. It was dad, stepmom, stepsister, sister, and sister's girlfriend, all gathered together on the ferry with a bunch of strangers, united by the promise of a beautiful sunset. As the ferry set sail and they headed towards open water, Max found a quiet spot on the deck. The cool breeze and the sight of the setting sun on the horizon offered a moment of tranquility. He couldn't help but think about the ring on his finger and the idea of retiring it at the bottom of the lake, much like he had done with the first ring and the tree. Perhaps the ring would have a more peaceful effect resting beneath the calm waters. His thoughts were interrupted when he noticed his sister's girlfriend, a genuinely good person whom he had always admired, wearing several silver rings on her fingers. It struck him that she might be the perfect person to be the next bearer of the ring. Her kindness and positive influence could bring a new dimension to the ring's power. Max approached her, showing her the ring. "Hey, I noticed you like silver rings. This one says peace. I think it would suit you more than it does me." She looked at the ring surprised. "Are you sure, Max? It seems special." Max smiled, hiding the ring's true significance. "I'm sure. I have no attachment to it. I think it would look good on you." She hesitated for a moment, then accepted the ring with a grateful smile. "Thank you, Max. I'll take good care of it." As she slipped the ring onto her finger, Max felt a sense of relief and hope. He knew she lived in a big city inland from the lake, and he believed the ring's influence would be different there, perhaps even greater than if he had kept it. The city needed peace and positive energy, and she was the right person to spread it. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant shades of orange and pink. Max stood at the railing, watching the last rays of light disappear. He felt a sense of closure, knowing that he had passed on the ring to someone who could carry the power forward. The cruise continued. Filled with laughter and conversation, Max felt lighter, free from the weight of the ring and the burdens of the past few months. He enjoyed the company of his family, cherishing the moments they shared on the water. As the ferry returned to shore and the night settled in, Max looked at his sister's girlfriend wearing the ring. He knew he had made the right decision. The journey of the ring was far from over, but it was now in capable hands, ready to bring peace and influence in new ways. Max felt a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. He was ready to move forward, embracing the next chapter of his life with hope and determination. The Sunset Cruise had become more than just a family outing. It was a symbolic farewell to the past and a hopeful step into the future. Chapter 19. The New Plan. 2 days after the Sunset Cruise, the political landscape shifted dramatically. The incumbent, recognizing his declining capabilities, announced he would not be on the ticket on Election Day. This announcement created a massive power vacuum within his party, throwing everything into chaos. There were many obvious contenders to take his place, and the scramble for power was intense. With the election rapidly approaching, amidst the chaos, Max had a new idea. He needed to create one last ring, but this one would be different. Inspired by the changes in the political scene, he felt a renewed sense of urgency and purpose. This ring would draw its power from a new source, the sun. Max's nose was pierced with a stud, but he imagined replacing it with a golden hoop, a new symbol of his intentions and beliefs. He decided to use a small portable solar panel to charge the ring, modifying it in the same way he had with the power strips. This time, the ring would be gold, symbolizing a higher form of energy and purity. He purchased a small, portable solar panel and outfitted it to hold the gold ring within its wires. He then bought 9 portable power banks, each a vessel for the sun's energy. Max planned to take the solar panel to 9 different parks, each with its own significance and beauty, and charge 1 power bank at each location. Max's journey began at Muskegon State Park, where he set up the solar panel in a sunny clearing, and he watched the sun's rays, powered the ring, and filled the first power bank with energy. He wrote the date and time and location on the side of the battery, along with the words, Sun Power. Next, he visited Duck Lake State Park, a place with a tranquil beauty where he often went to clear his mind. He found a quiet spot near the lake and repeated the process, feeling a sense of peace as the sun's energy flowed into the power bank. At Hoffmaster State Park, Max chose a scenic overlook with a breathtaking view of the lake. The solar panel soaked up the sun, and he marveled at the power of nature harnessed so simply. Another power bank was filled, and he marked it with the details of the day. His journey continued to Pure Marquette, where he set up the solar panel on the sandy shore. The rhythmic sound of waves provided a soothing backdrop as the sun did its work. He recorded the moment on the power bank and moved on. Clear Springs Nature Preserve was next. A place of quiet reflection and natural beauty, Max found a sunny spot among the trees and let the solar panel charge next to the power bank. He felt connected to the earth and the energy it provided. At Riverside Park, he set up near a clearing and a flowing river. The sound of the water added to the serenity of the moment. Another power bank was filled, capturing the sun's power in this peaceful setting. Pioneer Park was bustling with activity, but Max found a quiet corner to set up the solar panel, and another power bank was filled. He felt a sense of community and shared energy, knowing he was part of something larger than himself. The last place was a nature preserve close to where he and Emma had often walked together. It was a place filled with memories, both happy and bittersweet. Max set up the solar panel in their favorite spot and let the sun charge the final power bank. He wrote the details on the side, feeling a mix of emotions as he remembered their times together. With all 9 power banks filled with the sun energy, Max returned home for the night. He had a big plan for the energy they contained and a plan that would unfold the next day. He carefully removed the ring from the hot wire of the solar panel and fixed it in his nose as a hoop. The gold ring felt cool and solid against his skin, a new symbol of his purpose. Max went to bed, the weight of the day's journey and the power of the sun still fresh in his mind. Tomorrow would be another step in his journey, one filled with potential and the promise of change. He closed his eyes, feeling a sense of calm and readiness for whatever lay ahead. Chapter 20. Distributing the Sun Power. The next day, Max headed to the local Lakeside Veterans Club, a place known for its camaraderie and support for those who had served. He carried a small box containing 9 power banks, each one filled with the sun's energy and marked with the details of their charging locations. Max felt a sense of anticipation as he approached the bar. The bartender, a friendly woman named Linda, greeted him with a smile. "What can I do for you, Max?" Max placed the box on the counter. "I have something for the veterans," he said, opening the box to reveal the power bank. "These are pre-charged power banks. I'd like you to distribute them to the veterans who come in. Each one is labeled with time, date, and place where it was charged, along with the words Sun Power." Linda looked at the power banks, her brow furrowed in confusion. "What's the story behind these?" Max smiled. "It's just a little project of mine. I believe in the power of the sun and the energy it can bring. Thinking of it as a way to share a bit of positivity and practicality." Linda nodded slowly, still a bit puzzled but willing to help. "All right, Max, I'll make sure they get to the right people." Satisfied, Max left the club, trusting that Linda would follow through. He spent the rest of the day having a quiet afternoon and evening at home. He read a book, worked on a little on his laptop, and tried to relax. The weight of the recent events and the significance of the ring he now wore in his nose hoop stayed with him, but he tried to push those thoughts aside for a while. That night, as he lay in bed, Max couldn't stop thinking about the ring, what kind of influence it was having now that it was constantly with him, directly on his face. Was it silently affecting the world around him, or was it simply a reminder of his intentions and the power of his actions? With these thoughts swirling in his mind, he eventually drifted off to sleep. The next morning, Max awoke to a buzzing phone. He grabbed it, still groggy, and checked social media feeds. The news was everywhere. The political party, in desperate need of a candidate, had announced a novel approach to fill the vacancy. They had launched a website where anyone could submit any name, any American citizen aged 35 or older, as their choice for the party's presidential nominee. Each submission was required to have a phone number and an email address, both of which could only be used once. Max's mind raced as he read the details. The deadline for submissions was midnight, and the person with the most votes would become the party's nominee. This was an unprecedented move, a true reflection of the chaotic political climate and the urgent need for leadership. Max sat up in bed, his heart pounding with excitement and curiosity. This could be the opportunity for real change, for someone truly capable to step forward. He wondered if the ring had played a part in this sudden turn of events. Was it possible that his actions and intentions had influenced the outcome? He thought about who he might nominate, and the possibilities were endless. Anyone from a respected neighbor to a well-known celebrity could be put forward. The idea of a true people's candidate was both thrilling and daunting. Max spent the morning contemplating his choice, thinking about the qualities that made a good leader: integrity, wisdom, compassion, and strength. He reached out to Aaron and a few close friends, discussing potential candidates and their merits. By midday, Max had made a decision. He entered his nomination on the website, feeling a sense of purpose and hope. The rest of the day was filled with anticipation as he watched social media and news updates, eager to see how the country would respond to this unprecedented call for nominations. As the deadline approached, Max felt a renewed sense of optimism. The ring in his nose felt like a constant reminder of the power of his actions and the energy he had harnessed. Whatever happens next, he was ready to face it, with the belief that positive change was possible and that every small action could contribute to a greater good. As midnight neared, Max knew that the future was uncertain, but filled with potential. The journey he had started with the ring was far from over, and he was determined to see it through, one step at a time. Chapter 21, A New Hope. As midnight approached, Max sat in his living room, surrounded by the quiet hum of anticipation. The air seemed charged with the energy of countless hopes and dreams, all converging on this moment. He refreshed his social media feeds, eager to see who the chosen candidate would be. The country held its breath and waiting for the announcement that could potentially change the course of history. Finally, the announcement came. The party's nominee was unexpected but inspiring choice. An author known for his impactful books and sizable education YouTube channel, Crash Course. Max's heart leapt with recognition. This man, along with his brother, had dedicated their lives to education, raising funds for worthy causes, and making the world a better place. They were creators, educators, and philanthropists, true paragons of what it meant to be leaders in their own right. Max couldn't believe it. He had followed their work for years, often turning to their videos for both education and inspiration. The chosen candidate was someone who he truly admired, a person who embodied the values of integrity, compassion, and wisdom. This was someone who didn't seek power for its own sake, but was thrust into it by the collective will of the people. The nominee himself was initially reluctant, as the news reports and social media posts came quickly revealed. He expressed his surprise and hesitation, acknowledging the immense responsibility that came with such a role. "I never wanted this," he said, in a heartfelt video message. "But perhaps that's why it's so important. True leadership isn't about seeking power, it's about serving others. I will do my best to rise to this challenge because you have placed your trust in me." Max felt a profound sense of relief and excitement. For the first time in a long while, there was genuine hope for positive change. The ring on his nose felt warm, almost alive, as if it recognized the significance of this moment. Max couldn't help but wonder if his own journey and the energy of the ring had somehow contributed to this outcome. The days that followed were a whirlwind of media coverage and public reactions. The nominee's brother joined him in numerous interviews, supporting him and highlighting their shared vision for a better future. Together, they used their platform to rally support, focusing on the importance of education, empathy, and community. Max continued to wear the ring, feeling its power and influence more keenly than ever. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he believed in the nominee's ability to lead with integrity and compassion. The ring had guided him thus far, and he was determined to see this journey through. As the election campaign kicked into high gear, Max felt a renewed sense of purpose. He volunteered for the nominee's campaign, using his skills and energy to support a cause he truly believed in. The sense of community and shared vision was palpable, and Max felt more connected than ever to those around him. One evening, as Max was organizing campaign materials, Aaron called. "Can you believe it, Max? This is incredible. The right person got the nomination, someone who truly deserves it." Max smiled, his heart swelling with pride and hope. "Yeah, Aaron, it's amazing. This is what we were working towards, what we'd hoped for. I'm just glad to be a part of it." Aaron paused, then added, "Do you think the ring had something to do with it?" Max looked at the ring in his nose, feeling its subtle warmth. "I don't know, Aaron. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. But what matters is that we did something. We believed in better futures, and we took steps to make it happen. That's what counts." As the weeks went by, the campaign gathered momentum. The nominee's message of hope, education, and community resonated with the people across the country. Max felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he was contributing to a cause that truly mattered. The election day finally arrived, and the nation turned out in record numbers to vote. As the results came in, it became clear that the nominee had won by a significant margin. The country had chosen hope, integrity, and wisdom over division and fear. Max watched the victory speech with tears in his eyes, feeling the weight of the moment. The journey of the ring had led to this, a new beginning for the country and for himself. He knew that the road ahead would still be challenging, but with the right leadership and united community, anything was possible. As he stood among friends and fellow volunteers, Max felt the warmth of the ring and the collective energy of those around him. The journey was far from over, but it was a journey filled with hope and purpose and a belief that together they could build a better future. Chapter 22, Chaos and Conflict. The election results brought hope and relief to many, but not everyone accepted the outcome. The defeated opponent, fueled by anger and desperation, held a rally to denounce the election as a fraud. The last-minute nomination of a new candidate was his primary point of contention, claiming that the process was unfair and illegitimate. His words were incendiary, aimed at riling up his sizable base of supporters. Max watched the news with growing concern as the rally unfolded. The opponent's rhetoric was inflammatory, calling for his followers to take action. "This election was a sham," he shouted to the crowd. "How can a candidate chosen so last minute be legitimate? They stole this election from us." The crowd roared in agreement, and the atmosphere grew increasingly volatile. "We cannot let them get away with this," the opponent continued. "I call on you, true patriots, to storm our government buildings. Show them that we will not stand for this injustice." Max's heart sank as he began to watch scenes from the chaos unfold on the screen. People began storming government buildings at state, local, and federal levels. They were armed and angry, their fury directed at what they perceived as a stolen election. Police, fearing an escalation into all-out chaos, stood down in many areas, unable to contain the violence. The scenes were terrifying. Rioters broke windows, vandalized offices, and clashed with anyone who stood in their way. The sense of safety and order that Max felt just days before was shattering. He felt a surge of anxiety, wondering if the ring's influence had somehow led to violence. That evening, the defeated opponent gave another speech, doubling down on his claims. The broadcast was covered by every major news network, and Max, along with millions of others, watched in disbelief. "This is not over," the opponent began, his voice dripping with contempt. "They think they can silence us with their fraudulent elections, but they are wrong. We will not be silenced, and we will not accept this illegitimate result." He paused, letting tension build. "The election must be redone. The people demand a fair, transparent process, not this sham. We will fight until justice is served, and I tell you now, I am the chosen one." Max felt a chill run down his spine at those words. The situation was spiraling out of control, and the country was on the brink of something truly dangerous. He looked at the ring in his nose and wondered if it held any power to help restore peace, or if it was merely a symbol of his own intentions. The next few days were filled with uncertainty and fear. The government and various institutions scrambled to respond to the unprecedented crisis. Calls for calm and unity were issued from many quarters, but the damage had been done. The nation was deeply divided, and the path to healing seemed more daunting than ever. Max knew that he had to do something, even if it was small. He reached out to Aaron and his friends, organizing community discussions, support groups, just to help people across the country process their fears and anxieties. They worked to spread messages of peace and understanding, hoping to counteract the violence and hatred with compassion and dialogue. As the country grappled with its new reality, Max remained hopeful that the reason and decency would prevail. The ring was a reminder of the power of intentions and actions, and he was determined to use that power for good. The journey was far from over, and Max believed that together they could find a way to rebuild and move forward. Chapter 23. Peace and Resolution. The message for peace, fostered by Max and many others, resonated deeply with the community. Community discussions, support groups, and public appeals for understanding began to take root. As people sought to heal the wounds caused by the recent turmoil, the country slowly started to find its way back to a semblance of unity. The defeated opponent decided to make one final desperate attempt to reignite the chaos. He scheduled a speech to be broadcast live on all major news networks, determined to make a dramatic statement. The day of the speech was stormy, with dark clouds hanging ominously in the sky. The opponent stood in the pouring rain, holding an umbrella, his face set in a defiant scowl. The nation watched, holding its breath, uncertain of what he would do next. "This isn't over," he began, his voice barely audible over the sound of the rain. "They think they've silenced us, but they haven't. We will rise again, and we will take back what is ours." He paused, the rain pouring down his face, making him look almost ghostly. The camera zoomed in as he lifted his hand dramatically, To all my true patriots out there, I have one last command for you, he said, his eyes piercing through the lens. Start shooting. Just as the words left his mouth, a flash of lightning split the sky. The bolt struck his umbrella, sending a surge of electricity through his body. The camera captured the moment in stark detail. The umbrella disintegrated in his hand, his arm convulsing, and his face contorting in pain. The nation watched in shock as the man who had sown so much discord was brought down by an act of nature. The dramatic and violent end of his speech was seen by many as a sign that his reign of chaos was truly over. It was a moment of both horror and clarity as people realized that his time had passed and it was time to move forward. With the immediate threat neutralized, the country began to heal. The new leader, the author and educational YouTuber, took office with a message of unity, compassion, and progress. His platform focused on rebuilding trust in institutions, focusing on addressing social inequities, and fostering a sense of community and mutual respect. Max continued to wear the ring, feeling its quiet influence in his daily actions. He returned to his work as an electrician, finding joy in the simple tasks that brought light and energy into people's lives. He remained active in his community, organizing events that promoted understanding and cooperation among diverse groups. The future looked brighter than it had in a long time, with a leader who truly cared about the people and population that he had learned the hard way about the dangers of division. The nation began to rebuild on the foundations of shared values and mutual respect. Education and innovation flourished under the new administration. The YouTuber turned leader and his brother continued to use their platform to educate and inspire, creating new programs that addressed critical issues such as climate change, economic disparity, and access to quality education. Max saw a new generation rising, one that was more informed, more empathetic, and more engaged than ever before. He felt a sense of pride and hope knowing that he had played a part in this transformation. The ring on his nose was a constant reminder of the power of intention and the impact of small, deliberate actions. As the years passed, the scars of the past healed, and the country moved forward with renewed vigor. The story of the lightning strike became a symbol of the turning point, a moment where nature itself seemed to intervene and restore balance and order. Max continued to live his life with purpose, surrounded by family and friends who supported and inspired him. The lessons of the past were never forgotten, but they served as a guide for a future built on peace, compassion, and the unwavering belief in the power of community. The nation, once divided, had found its way back to unity, and Max knew that as long as they held on to these values, the future would remain bright and hopeful. Chapter 24. Reflections and Reconciliation. Max had come a long way since the chaos and turmoil of the past. His life was filled with purpose and a sense of accomplishment, but there was one part of his heart that had never quite healed. He never forgot about Emma and the quote from Tolkien that haunted his thoughts. Faithless is he who says farewell when the road darkens. It was true, in the darkest moment of their relationship, he had walked away. Despite all of the progress he had made and all of the positive changes he had helped bring about in the world, there was still a lingering sense of regret and unfinished business when it came to Emma. Max often wondered about what might have been if he had stayed, if he had faced the difficulties together rather than alone. He thought about reaching out to her many times, but the fear of reopening old wounds held him back. Still, the thought of her remained a constant presence in his mind, a reminder of the love that had once been so strong. One crisp autumn day, Max decided to visit the nature preserve where he and Emma had used to walk. The leaves were turning a brilliant shades of red and gold, and the air was filled with the scent of fall. As he walked the familiar paths, memories of their time together flooded back, each step a bittersweet reminder of what he had lost. He found himself at a spot where he had last placed the ring's energy into one of the power banks. Sitting on a bench, he took a deep breath and let the memories wash over him. He realized that part of moving forward meant facing his past, and that included Emma. With a sense of resolve, Max pulled out his phone and typed a message to Emma. He hesitated for a moment, then hit send. Hi, Emma. It's Max. I was thinking about you and wanted to see how you're doing. I'm at the nature preserve where we used to walk. It's beautiful as ever. I hope you're well. He sat there unsure if she would respond, but knowing that reaching out was the right thing to do. The minutes passed slowly, and Max occupied himself by watching the leaves dance in the wind. Just as he was about to leave, his phone buzzed. "Hi, Max. It's good to hear from you. I'm doing well. I've thought about you, too. Would you like to come meet and catch up?" Max's heart pounded as he read her message. He typed back quickly, agreeing to meet the next day at a cafe they used to frequent. The next day, Max arrived early at the cafe, nervous but hopeful. Emma walked in. He felt a rush of emotions. She looked just as he remembered, but there was a new strength in her eyes. They sat down, ordered coffee, and began to talk. The conversation flowed easily. Despite the time that had passed, they spoke about their lives, the changes they had gone through, and the things they had learned. Max apologized for how things ended, expressing his regret and the lessons he had taken from their breakup. Emma listened, her expression softening. "Max, we both made mistakes. We were in a difficult place, but I've grown, and it seems you have too." They spent hours talking, reconnecting on a level that felt both familiar and new. By the end of their meeting, they had decided to stay in touch, to see where things might go. There was no rush, no pressure, just a mutual desire to rebuild their connection. As Max walked home, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. The ring in his nose was still there, a symbol of the journey, but now it also felt like a bridge to the future. He had faced the past, and in doing so, had opened a door to new possibilities. The nation continued to heal and move forward, guided by the leadership of the new president and the collective efforts of its people. Max continued his work, both in profession and his community, always mindful of the power of intention and the importance of staying true to his values. In the quiet moments when he reflected on his life, Max knew that he had found a balance. He had learned from his mistakes, embraced his strengths, and forged a path that was both meaningful and fulfilling. And most importantly, he had reconnected with Emma, taking the first steps towards a new chapter in their story. The future was still uncertain, but Max faced it with hope, confidence, knowing that he was no longer faithless. He was ready to walk the road, no matter how dark it might get, with the light of love and purpose guiding his way. To end, I would like to leave you with another quote from one of Tolkien's works. The quote comes from Gandalf. He said, "I have found that it is not great power that keeps the darkness at bay, but rather the everyday acts of ordinary folk, acts of kindness and love."